When the milk freezes and the roads are like this, we realize how much we depend on miners to make life bearable. We all know that coal is the source of power, light, and heat for industry, and that coal moves our trains and our ships. But there's another side to the picture that we don't think of so often, the use of coal as a raw material. Now, oil is a raw material, so is wood and cotton, and so is limestone. But coal is more important than any of them, because from it can be made hundreds of other valuable products. Coal is really a complicated mixture of chemical substances. You probably don't need a lecturer to tell you that H2O is water, but perhaps these symbols are not so familiar. C is carbon, and the C in these chemicals comes from coal, which is a source of many important carbon compounds. But before we can get at these chemicals, the coal has to be carbonized. This is one method of doing it at the gasworks. There are banks of ovens inside which finely ground coal is baked for several hours at a high temperature. Baking drives out the gases so that all that is left in the ovens is white-hot coke, which, when cooled, is ready to be sold as a clean, smokeless fuel. The gas which is produced is carried away up these pipes. When the gas is cooled, some of it changes to a liquid. The rest is purified and goes to supply your gas cookers and fires. The liquid is tar oil. Tar is the raw material of many industries. For example, many millions of gallons of benzol are produced every year by British gasworks from their tar oil. During the war, foreign supplies of petrol were eked out with this home-produced benzol. TNT for shells comes from tar oil, but of course explosives are equally important for peacetime quarrying operations. Before the war, British land was going out of cultivation, and we imported most of our food. But today, we cannot afford to import anything we can grow for ourselves. So we must spread fertilizers to increase the yield of crops. One of the most effective artificial fertilizers is sulfate of ammonia, some of which is produced as a byproduct in the gasworks. Everyone has seen tar being used in road making, but it also has an important use for the fruit farmer. He sprays it on his trees to kill the eggs of insect pests, which, if allowed to hatch, would seriously reduce the crop of fruit. Also from coal tar comes carbolic acid, and plastics of the Bakelite type are made partly from carbolic. Here they're making telephone handles. Plastics are so called because they can be molded into shapes, just like pastry dough, if the temperatures and pressures are high enough. Plastics won't pass electric currents, and they're not as brittle as glass, ebonite or porcelain, so you'll find them in electrical apparatus of all kinds. One of the most spectacular applications is a British process for the continuous production of radio sets. In an ordinary radio, there is a complex network of condensers, resistors, and wire connections. In the new design, they are replaced by simple metallized plates made of Bakelite. Blank panels from the molding press are fed into one end of this machine. The first step is to spray them all over with molten metal. Then the plates go through a polisher, which takes off the surplus metal, leaving it only in the grooves. The plates are delivered at the far end of the conveyor belt, one every 20 seconds. It all looks very simple, but the electronic devices which control the process are extremely complicated. Now all that remains to be done is to screw on the small loudspeaker, to plug in the two valves, and two extra condensers. The two halves are put together rather like an alarm clock. There are no wire connections at all, so this really is a wireless set. Gear wheels can be made from layers of cloth impregnated with the same plastic made from carbonized coal. They run silently and will stand up to terrific strain. Doors and wall panels are made from layers of paper bonded with plastic which can be sawn and planed just as easily as wood. These boards can even be used for the structural parts of aircraft. Nylon, another important plastic, is now being made in Britain. Again, its origin is carbolic acid from coal. By a series of chemical reactions, the molecules can be made to join together in long chains that form the fibers from which the fine tough yarn is spun, to make not only parachutes, but all kinds of everyday articles. This intricate machine is fashioning the toe of a stocking. And here the stockings are being inspected before dyeing and finishing, ready for dispatch to the wearer. The fine nylon fibers are woven into fabrics for dresses, bathing suits, and waterproofs, and thicker fibers are used for ropes and cords. Fishermen have found them extremely useful for lines and casts because of their great strength and elasticity. And your hairbrush, a piece of coal? Well, not exactly, but it's a coal product if the bristles are made of nylon. One of the greatest achievements of coal byproducts is in the fight against disease. Pneumonia, for example, in the 1930s killed nearly 40,000 people every year. Then British chemists, following up some earlier German work, discovered how to make from coal a powerful new drug called sulfapyridine, commonly known as M&B 693. Tested on actual patients, it reduced the death rate by more than 2/3. Under the action of the drug, congestion cleared up rapidly, and in most cases, the patient's temperatures fell within 36 hours. To develop any new drug needs years of persistent research. First, possible new methods of preparation have to be worked out on paper. Then, hundreds of new compounds have to be made by the chemists and tested by the bacteriologists. In this way, the same byproduct was made to yield a whole series of drugs, each of which has its own special use in medicine. So coal fights for health through the collaboration of doctors and scientists. We have seen something of the importance of coal to the tar oil industries, fertilizers, plastics, and medicine. But there are many others, such as dyestuffs. Now, who thinks of coal when choosing a dress material? And many scents contain chemicals from coal. We even gargle with a coal product. So we should think of coal not so much as a fuel, but as a source of other materials, which in the open grate are wasted as smoke. But turned into gas and coke, cleaner and more convenient fuels are produced, and the valuable byproducts are conserved. Only when coal is used wisely and efficiently can we have ships full of exports and shops full of goods.